You grew up with the Steinbrenner doctrine, which is if you don't win the World Series, then your season is a failure, right?
Mm-hmm.
That comes from George Steinbrenner. Well, the person who doesn't believe in the Steinbrenner doctrine is Hal Steinbrenner.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to New York Minute Sports. We got a reaction video, Buster Olney on the Rich Eisen Show. Yankees need to alter roster building approach. I'm going to watch it for the first time with you, so grab some popcorn, roll up whatever you want. Let's check it out together. Buster Olney, Rich Eisen, New York Yankees, folks. Inject it into my veins.
Fans, Buster Olney, why do the Yankees keep running it back? Why do they keep saying, okay, we're close, we just need to tinker here, tinker there, rather than just getting a completely new way of looking at everything?
Because Cashman will actually have to concede defeat for once. Brian Cashman will actually have to accept that his ego is not his amigo, and doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is called insanity, or just the Brian Cashman and Aaron Baboon-led New York Yankees.
You grew up with the Steinbrenner doctrine, which is if you don't win the World Series, then your season is a failure, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's comes from George Steinbrenner. Well, the person who doesn't believe in the Steinbrenner doctrine is Hal Steinbrenner, the son. He doesn't operate that way. He gives them credit for the fact that they haven't had a losing season since 1992. He gives them credit for the fact that last year they played in the World Series, that this year they had the second best record in the American League in a way that Yankee fans don't.
Well,
so there you go. You got your answer right there from Buster Olney. This isn't your dad's New York Yankees anymore. This is Hal penny pinching Steinbrenner. You can check that in the videos below or at the end of this video, and how Hal Steinbrenner pocketed $400 million last year. All right. And he only puts 48% of his money back into the New York Yankees. So with the Yankees, they impose this. It's a World Series or bust. But Hal does not play by those rules. And he's still telling the New York Yankee fans, and he's still charging the same prices for that doctrine. And he's not living by it.
I mean, I just to I guess broaden this out a little bit. I don't believe fully in the George M. Steinbrenner III doctrine, because that on occasion was extremely unhealthy. It put undue pressure on a lot of people. It made things ugly. It wasn't the...
And for all the young guys that follow me here on YouTube, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Gene Stick Michael, who actually put this team together, he curated Jeter, Bernie Williams, and all the core four guys, was Gene Stick Michael and Bob Watson. If you remember back in the day, you can Google it or put it on YouTube. George Steinbrenner was out of baseball. He was suspended from baseball, and while he was out of the way, the New York Yankees built the core four. So yes, that winning a World Series every year stuff doesn't work, but that's what the New York Yankees have been told. As a hardcore Yankee fan, I know that it's impossible to go to win the World Series every single year, and we haven't won since 2009. But don't tell us that, and don't preach that, and don't live that, and don't talk out of both sides of your mouth. Just like last year, Hal Steinbrenner was saying, hey, we're going to do everything we can fiscally to put a winning team on the field. And then he said right after that, we don't think this roster is sustainable, when talking about the reacquisition of Juan Soto.
Way I would run a franchise, but I'm just saying a little bit of that is something that Hal could actually take here, because at this point in time, it looks like I'm genuinely concerned that Aaron Judge's talent is being ultimately wasted right now.
Right.
Because he's surrounded by a line.
Aaron Judge is going to be Don Mattingly. The window is closing on Gerrit Cole and Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge isn't getting any younger. He's going to be turning 34 this year, and that huge body will start to fall apart. I'm sorry, guys. I know he's our captain. I love Aaron Judge as much as the next guy, but Aaron Judge, with that body size, will start to become injury prone, and he will start breaking down. This window's going to close. He's not going to mash 50 home runs every single year, and Hal Steinbrenner is not putting enough around Aaron Judge to win a chip. Also, he's getting Aaron Judge at a discount for $400 million. And I know that sounds crazy that that's a discount, but Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who just had 23 home runs in the regular season, makes $500 million, $100 million more than Aaron Judge. So, yes, I really do think that Gerrit Cole and Aaron Judge, when we look back in the future, that they might have 0 rings. Or, I did say this to my friend the other night, that Aaron Judge will be like, he will be like Frank Thomas on the White Sox when they won their championship. He helped them get all the way there, and then he was a shadow of himself when they won, really didn't contribute, and I hope that doesn't happen to Aaron Judge.
Up that doesn't get on base for him enough. It's just all hit or miss. I thought what Buck Martinez said about the Yankees that Aaron Boone pushed back on.
Well, that's when Buck Martinez started saying, the Yankees aren't a good team. It's going to be,
I can't wait to put him on Game 7 tonight.
the Yankees aren't a good team.
That they don't hit home runs, they don't win. They strike out too much, they don't put the ball in play, and they don't defend very well. I thought that was 100% spot on. I also love Buck Martinez, one of my old ESPN colleagues that I used to hang out with and broadcast.
Buck Martinez was absolutely correct, okay? He was a little too harsh. That's fine. I can deal with that. He was right. They got better at what he was talking about at the end of the year. But yeah, the Yankees, I think the whole season were looking forward to 2026. They were throwing us a pound of flesh this year. They rebuilt the bullpen on the fly. They were trying to rebuild the Yankees with the youth movement like a car. They were trying to reassemble a car going 65 miles an hour down the highway. So they got some stuff accomplished, and they pretty much set them up for this year to win a rib.
He was 100% spot on. And yet they don't change. They just keep the roster pretty much formed the way they do, and I thought they did very well, putting a roster together this year based on the circumstances. But I don't understand why they're just going to run it back again, right?
They're changing, but glacially.
Okay.
You remember the years 3-4 years ago? They constantly had those right-handed hitting lineups that you're like, that is not going to play in Yankee Stadium. And that was an all-or-nothing lineup. They gradually, by adding Jazz Chisholm, last year they traded for Cody Bellinger. They have become a little bit more versatile, a little bit more speed. But I think as they move forward, they're going to take more examples from teams like the Blue Jays, like the Milwaukee Brewers, where they'll add more players who are versatile, can play different positions. And let's
see, that makes me scratch my head, though. They're going to start playing like the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are playing the 1990s New York Yankees style of ball. Put the ball in play. You got a bunch of pesky hitters who got about 21 to 23 home runs apiece. They can play a lot of different places on the field, and they can hit for power, and they can hit for average, and they don't strike out a lot. They work counts, and they get the starting pitcher out of the ball game. Dude, it's simple, man. I don't know why they're trying to reinvent the wheel, and Brian Cashman is trying to be smarter than everyone in baseball, but that's the deal.
Let's face it, they have to figure out shortstop. Anthony Volpe, it's 3 years now. They've been waiting and waiting and waiting. He seemed to be an absolute regression last season. I know he was injured. They need to get a plan B in place.
But that's when I was talking about Brian Cashman's ego. That's Anthony Volpe. He was hurt, and then they played him like a rented mule, and everyone's scratching their head because Anthony Volpe's making league minimum. That's why he's in there. And also, it's Brian Cashman's pet project. And if this fails, it's going to be egg on the face of Brian Cashman, because think about how many guys he did not move during the trade deadlines, like Luis Castillo, who's pitching his ass off for the Seattle Mariners, that he could have had at a trade deadline if he moved that piece with Anthony Volpe. Anthony Volpe has regressed every single year since his first year. I don't even want to hear about the injury this year. This is going to be a make-or-break-it year. He's going to be on the Yankees this year because of the money that he makes. I think they should trade Jazz and they should move Volpe over to second, but I will be covering that in my Yankees Attack the Offseason right after the World Series over on Monday, folks. I'm going to have a new episode for the Yankees Offseason Part 1.
Isn't Lombard coming up, or he's too young?
He's too young now, but he is considered to be a superstar prospect. He could be up at the end of next year, beginning of 2027, but he's not ready for the start of 2026. I do think that they will have some changes, and, man, they are loaded with pitching.
Elmer Rodriguez Cruz. Get used to the name. starting pitching from the Yankees farm system. He's a tall dude, throws gas, was unhittable in AAA this year. They're probably going to move him up, and he's going to have a decent audition to make the New York Yankees in spring training this year. And this guy's stuff is electric, folks. And you can catch us at New York Minute. That's NEWYRKMIN on Instagram. Also, like I said, after Game 7 of the World Series tonight, I'm going to have my Yankees offseason first episode. How the Yankees are going to approach free agency, who's going, who's staying, and how they need to win a ring ASAP. New York Minute Sports. New York Sports for New York Nuts. So don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and remember, if you can't be good, be bad, baby. Bye.